here, and welcome to my channel. Help, somebody is calling me mama. Welcome back, and I hope you will consider subscribing if you like what you find here. And I just try to be very laid back and down to earth and talk about relevant things. And hopefully you will find this channel supportive, uplifting, and make you feel like you're not alone in your situation. So this channel is for moms, young moms, moms maybe with several kids. I had 4 of my own, and I'm just sharing some of my own life experiences with you. I think if you're a young mom, one of the last things you want is advice. And I hope this isn't a channel of giving advice, although I would like to share some of my life experiences. And then I say, take what is helpful and throw away the rest, because we all have different family situations. We all have different family units, personalities, upbringings, all that kind of thing. But when we are coming together as a place to share, I think we can learn from each other. So I am very grateful to be here with you today. And I wanted to share a very, very important topic that I will probably talk about. This may just be a part 1, I think, because I want to talk to you about the very important subject of self-care, especially as a mom. I really wish it didn't take me so long in my life to get to the point of realizing how important self-care was for balance in my life and health. I will even go so far to say as serenity and sanity for my life. So we all want that, and the best way to do that is to take a self-care assessment. So I'm hoping this video isn't too long today, but what I want you to do, I'm going to talk about 7 areas of self-care, and I just want you to think about your life in those areas and whether you'd give them, I guess we can use a scale of 1 to 10, right? 10 being that you give that area of your life a lot of attention and you feel very balanced and that you're doing really well in that area. And closer to a 1 is where maybe this is an area that's ignored for you and really need to maybe change your priorities and get a little balance going. We all could benefit from doing this in our lives here and there. To try to keep things more balanced. So I want to do that with you today, and hopefully this will be a good tool for you to help reassess, create some short goals for your self-care and then some long-term goals for your self-care, and get excited about thinking in new ways and how you can change things around to make your life more healthy, and which is always such a helpful thing to your children and husband. Let's get started. The first area is physical self-care. For some people, this is a very easy thing and is part of their personalities. They just incorporate in their everyday life exercise or think about healthy eating when it comes to themselves and their children and husband and family meals. So just give yourself an assessment number there. How are you doing in the area of physical health? So I want you to consider how much you're moving in that. Of course, raising children, you're moving a lot. I get that. But what are you doing for you? What brings joy to you? So I'm not talking about the caring of another person, and you may hear me say that more than once in this, but caring for yourself. What are you putting in your week that is for you with physical self-care? So exercise, what are you putting into your body? How can that be changed up if that's an area that's harder for you? And there's some creative ways of doing that. And then I would also include under that is take a look at your sleeping habits And again, this is an area where you feel like you may not have too much choice with children and depending on their ages, but there is a way to construct your time and create areas of routine in your evening routine that can free up space and create your sleeping time to be more manageable. So those are some areas I want you to consider for physical self-care. The second one is spiritual self-care. Now, even if you are not a religious person, I want to talk in the area of spirituality for a minute. And I personally believe that we are spirits that are wrapped in a physical body, and that our spirits need attention for growth and increasing our awareness in that area of our life that can be very fulfilling and give us a sense of purpose in this life. So I want you to assess from 1 to 10 your spiritual well-being. Are there things in your life that are feeding your spirit? Whether that's of a religious nature, maybe it's a meditative nature, maybe it's getting out in nature. Whatever that is for you, just give yourself an assessment on how you're doing on your self-care for the area of spirituality. The third area of self-care is mental. How is your mental health? And what are some things you're doing or putting in place for your mental health? Now, when you talk about self-care, most people automatically go to physical, but they don't take the time to think about mental care. And this is extremely important. I think it's even more important sometimes than the physical care. So if you rate yourself pretty low in the area of mental health and mental health care, I want you to start thinking of different strategies of putting support around you. What would help to relieve the stresses in your life? What are some ways of teaching yourself relaxation? What are some ways of strategizing with anxiety? Maybe you deal with depression. All these things are so important, and you'll find they make their way into the other family members and into the family system. So first you have to have an awareness and then do something positive about it, meaning there are so many resources out there. So reach out to a psychologist, a psychiatrist, to different support groups, whatever it is where you do not feel alone in it. There are also a lot of groups for mothers and people who are going through what you're going through. It's just a matter of reaching out and putting that on the calendar in your week to be a part of something that supports you in your self-care. And again, I stress, I'm talking about ways to take care of yourself, not to take care of your family or your husband or the people. I'm talking directly to you today because you are that important, that you have enough strength in order to give of yourself without giving your whole self away and feeling depleted. Okay, so let's go on to number 4, and this is a very important one as well. In self-care, I want you to rate your social self-care. What I mean by that is when you have young children, and I remember going through this, you get into a young child mentality, and even your speech changes as if you're talking to little children. And I remember my husband would come home from work and I would start talking to him like one of the kids because I had not been around adults. I had not been in a social situation that was just adults or mainly adults. And it really changed the way that I interacted in conversation. And I realized that as a preschool teacher and having my own young children, I really had to fight that. So, how do you rate yourself with your social self care, where you place yourself around adults, place yourself around adults without children? And there are wonderful ways to do that. There are programs during the day where you can go and spend times with other moms and your kids are in the nursery. If you are a religious person, I say just, or maybe even if you're not so much, just go take your kids to a local church, put them in the nursery, and you spend time with adults in that situation. And I'm sure there are other scenarios you can think of, but even meetup.com may give you some new ideas of going and being with adults that have like-mindedness, are interested in the same things you're interested in, and build that into your weekly schedule. And so I want you to rate yourself in the area of social self-care. The next area is a really important one. It doesn't matter what age you are or what age your children are, but this is one that can get lost very quickly in the role of being a mom, and that is your personal identity. So how do you identify yourself outside of the spectrum of being a mom? So what parts of yourself are still intact, or what are those that have gone by the wayside that maybe you need to pick up again and say, look, this is me. This is part of my personality. This is part of who I am. Because I remember there are certain things that I had to put by the wayside when I was raising my children. And now that I'm an empty nester, I've kind of picked some of those back up. Maybe we don't have to be so all or nothing. Maybe those things that bring us joy can stay in there. Maybe it's a little limited, but we don't have to give them up totally. I want you to think about what that is for your life. What is your personal identity, and how can you hold on to that and not let other voices and other things creep in and take that away from you? So I want to encourage you to hold on to those nuggets of you that are important to you and be creative and keep it in your life even when you have young children. It will help to fill you with joy and fulfillment and purpose, and you will feel like you were doing what you were here made to do. Were we here meant to be moms? Of course we are, and it's one of the most important jobs in the world in creating the next generation and bringing them up. I'm not saying that's not important, but in the process of doing that, you are your own individual. You are more than a mom, and try to figure out what that is. I want you to rate yourself on that one. And if your number is low, I encourage you from this day forward to really sit down and assess your own self-care in that area and find ways to make it happen and raise that number on the scale for yourself. So set some short-term goals first, and then maybe you have some long-term goals about things you want to put back into your life that bring you joy. Number 6, we're almost done. I didn't want this video to be too long. Number 6 is creativity. How do you rate yourself in self-care? Creativity is one of those areas that brings me a lot of joy, and most people do when they can find creative outlets. So how do you rate yourself on that? Maybe it's just how you do things with the kids, you know, it could be that as well. But try to incorporate creativity. And the last one today is time. How do you rate yourself on how your time is planned? And how much of that time do you give to your own self-care? Not caring for your husband, not caring for an elderly member of the family, not caring for your children, but caring for you. And really be honest and assess that. And on the calendar, create these time pockets or time slots and hold them dear and hold them important up there uh, for you, your time, things that refuel you, and you'll find that you have more joy and more energy to give to your families. Thank you so much for your time today. If you like this channel, please subscribe to it, and I hope to see you here again. Many, many blessings.